Hey guys, BrandonioProductions here, and welcome to I think that this may be my 31st Java tutorial. I'm not entirely sure about that number, actually. But in this tutorial, I actually wanted to talk about string formatting. You see, string formatting is a thing that is widely used in languages such as C. Mainly just C. It was first introduced in the C programming language, and it was used to format your output in order to be a certain way, so you could easily build tables just by printing out things to the console. So this functionality was actually imported into Java. Well, it wasn't imported into Java, it was included with Java with Java's release. So today I'm going to talk to you about how you can actually utilize this functionality. So what I mean is by string formatting is, say you have a string with a bunch of numbers in it and you want to align those numbers, and these numbers are any number of digits. You can align them using string formatting so they all take up the same width in a column. Or you can align strings by making sure they all take out the same width. Or you can align decimal points to make sure that they're all the same amount of points after the decimal. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about. So today in this tutorial we're going to be going over the String.format method, the System.out.format method, and the System.out.printf method. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a Vim window open here, and I've got a console window open on the right side of that, and I'm just going to go ahead and start making this class. So I'm going to make public class, I'm going to call this format tutorial, and actually this is, I don't know why we're going to the bottom. Very interesting this is. And then I'm going to say public static void main string args, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the main method and end the tutorial. I really don't know why we're sticking to the top with our cursor. Let's go ahead and see if I can change this in the properties here. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about what's happening. Let me see if I can restart Vim here. I'm going to go ahead and write this as format tutorial.java, and then I'm going to go ahead and close out of Vim, open up a new copy using this window, and we're going to see if the same thing happens. And it looks like the same thing did not happen. Okay, we're all set. Sorry about that. So we have this class, format tutorial, and in this class we're going to go ahead and test our string formatters. So the first thing we do is, let's just say we have a list of numbers from 0 to 100. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a for loop that generates that. So int I equal to 0, I is less than 100, plus I. And then inside of this for loop here, we're just going to want a System.out.println the number. And after we save this and we compile it, and then we run it, you'll probably see the expected results. We see a bunch of numbers here where the zeros are on the left-hand side of the column, or they only take up one space in this column. All of the 10s take up 2 spaces, and the 100 is not listed, but that would take up 3 spaces. So what if we actually want all of our numbers to take up the same amount of spaces? This is where string formatting comes in. So what I'm actually going to do, instead of using the System.out.println command, is I'm going to use the System.out.printf command. And the printf command works just like C's printf. So if you're familiar with C's printf command, you can go ahead and use the same exact syntax. And printf essentially stands for print function. And the way that it works is, first you specify a format string, and then you specify arguments that would go inside that format string. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, let's create our first format string here. So format strings are in the they're in the form of flag width dot precision type. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm just going to go ahead and write that in a comment here. So format strings look like this: %, flag width dot precision type. All right. So now that we've got that down, we can go ahead and create our first format string. So what we want this format string to do is we want to actually print out all of these numbers, these ints, and we want them to take up 3 spots each, because 100 takes up 3 spots, and we want our string to be formatted to the maximum length of our integers that we're printing out. So, just as this format strings comment here recommends, we need to put a % at the beginning of all of our format strings. Well, actually, the % indicates if we're going to use a variable inside of our string. So, we're going to only print out this number here, so we're going to start with a %. And the next thing it actually needs is the width. So we're going to print out our number with a width of 3. And then what we're printing out is a digit. So then we're going to include the D in our format string. And this D specifies that we're going to print out a digit, and the digit that we're going to print out is going to be included in the printf arguments. And then after we print the D, we want to include a new line. So we're just going to type \n, which is the Java character for new line. And then we can go ahead and close our format string. And now what we need to do is specify a digit to actually put inside of our string. So we can type in comma, and the next arguments that actually go into the printf statement are all of the % type things that we have in our format string. So if you look in our format string here, we have 1%, and this is indicating a digit of 3 length. So we need to specify what that digit is. And these formats go in left to right order, so you'll probably see that in one of the next examples. So the digit that we want to print out is I. So we're going to go ahead and end that line, and write and save, and compile. And then we can go ahead and run format tutorial. And once we do that, as you can see, all of these numbers actually end in the same column. So what it ended up doing is it actually ended up putting 2 spaces before our number here. So this is very useful because, as you can see, our output is much more organized than it was before, and now everything seems to be right aligned instead of left aligned, which is great. Now, say you actually wanted to fill those empty spots with zeros instead of spaces. Well, what you could actually do is you could indicate that you want to fill them with spaces by you could indicate that you wanted to fill them with zeros by putting a 0 in front of the width. So here we have that the width of our string that we want to print out is 3. But if we put a 0 in front of the 3, we can go ahead and write and quit and compile and then run. And voila, we now have our numbers all taking up exactly 3 characters, where any space character that was previously in the list is now replaced with a 0 character. So you can see that this is, although it's not, I would argue that this is a little less readable than the previous example, it's still cool for demonstration purposes. Now onto this format string, we could actually add more information. So we actually have a %d to indicate that we're putting a digit, and we can actually put a string before this. So we're going to say your number, colon, and then we have a space, and then %3d. And then we specify the number. So this allows us to put our number inside of an already formatted string, which is automatically truncated to, or automatically completed to 3 width. So let's go ahead and write and quit this. We're going to compile it. And then we're going to run it. I don't know why I keep running those commands. And as you can see here, it says your number, and then it goes ahead and prints out the number. So we didn't have to join together any strings with the plus symbol or add in any extra spaces because all of this information was specified in our format string. Now, as I mentioned previously, you could actually use the format string to print out multiple variables. So I'm going to go ahead and abandon this argument, or abandon this example altogether so we can start on a new one. So we want to start with a simple addition program. So we're going to be adding the numbers 0 through 10 to the numbers 0 through 10 and see what our output is. Actually, we're going to make it 10 through 20. So we're going to have a first loop, int I equal to 0, I is less than 10, plus plus I. And then we're going to have a second loop inside this, int j equal to 0, j, well, actually we're going to make this j is equal to 11, j is less than or equal to 20, plus plus j. And then all we want to do is we want to print out the addition of these two numbers in a kind of human-readable way. So what we're going to do is we're going to System.out.printf, printf, my apologies, and now we need to specify our format string. So what we have here is we have 2 digits, and then we have a plus sign, and then we have an equal sign, and then we have all of the digits that we want to specify. So let's go ahead and construct this format string. So we're going to list them as I plus j equals, and then the combination. So the first thing we want to put is I. Now I is a decimal, or yeah, I is a digit. It is an integer. So the first thing we want to do is put %d, which specifies that we want to insert a digit. Now, do we want to actually limit the width or the precision of this number? Not necessarily. We just want it to be as long as it actually is. So we can just leave it as %d. And then we're going to press space, press the add sign, and then we want to add another digit into our string. And then we're going to add an equal sign, and then finally we're going to add the sum of those two. So as you can see, this format string is pretty simple. We just have 3 digits with 2 symbols inserted in between them. So now we can go ahead and actually insert the digits that we want to put into the string. So we're going to say I plus j equals I plus j. And as you can see, it reads left to right. So the first d here is actually replaced with I, the value of I. The second d is replaced with the value of j. And the third d is replaced with the value of I plus j. So this is a rather elegant solution to write out quick little addition tables. So we're going to go ahead and write and quit this. I'm going to compile it. And then I'm going to go ahead and run it. And as you can see, first of all, you could probably see that we forgot to put a new line in, so everything looks very, very messy, but everything is here. We have the first digit, a plus sign, the second digit, an equal sign, and then we have the addition of the two. Yes, so let's go ahead and open this back up in Vim and add a new line at the end of our format string. And let's go ahead and try it again, shall we? So maybe we'll actually be able to get some discernible output this time. Aha! And as you can see, now we have all of the output that we want. 0 plus 11 is 11, 0 plus 12 is 12, 0 plus 13 is 13, 0 plus 14 is 14, 0 plus... and all that jazz. Did you know that 8 plus 12 is 20? Well, if you didn't, our program just told us that it is. So, the printf statement can also work with decimal width formatters. So we're going to go ahead and abandon this example altogether once again. And let's go ahead and say that we have a decimal number. We're going to say double long decimal, and it's going to be 3.1415926, and that's all the digits of pi I know. And now we actually want to print out this decimal, but we want to limit the decimal places to 2 decimals. Because if we put any more, the program's just going to look nasty because there's just very long decimals coming out. So we can actually System.out.printf, and we're going to construct a format statement. So, as you know, with integers, in order to print them out, we need to use a D. However, with decimal numbers, we need to use an F to actually specify that it is a float variable. So float variables are any variables with decimal points. So in order to actually specify how many decimal points we want to write out, we can write %decimal point to F. So this constructs a decimal point number with 2 numbers after the decimal, and it is a floating point number because it's a decimal. And then we go ahead and tag on the new line that we forgot last time, and this completes our format string. And then so we just want to put long decimal in the place of that %f. And then if we go ahead and compile this and then run it, you can see that it simply prints out 3.14 instead of the entirety of 3.14156 to 1592, whatever pi is. My apologies. So, now that we know about the %f and the %s, the last one I want to cover in this video, or the %f and the %d, the last one I want to cover in this video is actually the %f. So let's go ahead and create a rather complicated program. So I'm going to go ahead and import java.util.star here, and this will give us ability to print out user, or to ask for user input. We're going to use a scanner for that. So we're going to go ahead and System.out.printf, and we're going to ask the user what their name is. So we're going to go ahead and specify, or we don't even have to put any % signs in here because we can just put the prompt right in here. What is your name? And then we're going to want to put a new line in there. And then the user is going to type in their name. So we're going to say scanner s equals new scanner of system.in and string user name equal to s.next line. We'll just say I forget if it's next line or next. We'll just say next line. And then since we've captured the user's name, we can actually output the user's name back to it. So this is a very basic example of a hello world program, except now we're using format strings. So we're going to go ahead and say System.out.printf, your name is %s. And s, you probably guessed it, stands for string. So in this %s, we're actually going to put the username. So now we're going to go ahead and write and quit, compile this, and run it. And it says, what is your name? My name is Brandon. And it says, your name is Brandon. Fantastic. So just as expected, format strings work with strings as well. Now you can actually specify how long a string is. So this is very useful for creating some sort of table where you need to output a bunch of string data and you want them to be aligned. So if we get several names, for example, let's just go ahead and create several names. String short name equal to Alex. And then we're going to have string long name, longer name, equal to, let's just say your name is Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is a basketball player. Let's just say you had that as your name for whatever reason. So now you can go ahead and make sure that all of these strings are actually aligned and taking up the same amount of space by using a width specifier on the format string. So what we're going to do is System.out.printf, your name is, and we're going to go ahead and make this width specifier 40 characters. So %40s, username. And then we're going to System.out.printf, your name is %40s, and then we're going to go ahead and put short name in there. And then we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste this and replace short name with longer name. And if we go ahead and write and quit, compile, and run this, and we insert our name, you can see that all of our names are nicely right aligned. So we don't have any kind of messiness where things need to go. So this is very useful for printing out some sort of table, if I haven't said that enough. And this is also very useful because since you have format strings, you can also put strings inside of a set string. So we're just going to say string name output, and we can go ahead and make this string equal to your name is %40s new line. And this is just kind of a variable that we're always going to use so we don't have to constantly type in your name is over and over and over again. So we can simply type out System.out.printf, and we can replace your name is here with name output. And we're going to do the same thing here. And finally here. And everything will work just as planned. Just because we put the format string in a variable doesn't change anything. Great. So, we have discussed format strings, the construction of format strings. I know that things may get a little confusing when actually constructing format strings, but I will go ahead and link a few resources in the comments. There's a very good write-up on the Java doc about it, and several independent blog posts that have helped me learn. I will link those as well. Yes, so I've covered the printf command, and now the other two commands I want to cover are the String.format command and the System.out.format command. So the reason that the System.out.printf command exists is essentially to kind of allow the same functionality that C has in Java. The System.out.format command works exactly the same way. So if we go ahead and print out two identical statements, one using the .format command and one using the .printf command, and we're going to abandon these two short name and longer name outputs. So keep in mind the first one's using printf, the second one is using format. You will see that these prints actually look the exact same. So we're going to go ahead and compile and run, and we're going to insert Brandon as the name, and as you can see, it has printed out two identical strings. And this is simply because the System.out.format method is identical to the printf method, or if it's not identical, they're very similar in operation. And the second command I actually wanted to point out was the String.format command, which I'm not entirely sure how it works, honestly. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a guess. So we're going to say string, let's just say string name output equals, and we're going to go ahead and type string.format name output, or no, name. We're going to go ahead and format the string. Your name is %40s and a new line character. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the comma, and I'm just going to make a new line here, and on the comma we're going to put, after the comma we're going to put username. And we're going to delete all references to name output after that, or before that rather. So we're essentially creating a new string, and it's using the string.format command to take a format string and another string and format the string as such. And then we can go ahead and print out System.out.println, a command we all know and love, and we're going to print out name output. So what this code does is it takes the format string your name is %40s, and then it formats it using the argument specified, so we have the argument of username put into our format string, and then it returns the new string where all of the formatting materials were replaced with the argument. So now we have the new string name output. And we can go ahead and print that out with the System.out.println command. So we'll go ahead and see how this works now. We're just going to go ahead and compile it and run it. And as you can see, it operates the same way. We're going to go ahead and type in Brandon. It says your name is Brandon, and then we get two new lines because we use the format string with a new line character in conjunction with the println command. So that is how you can use format strings in order to actually creatively fix the formatting of your console program. This is very useful when printing out tables, when printing out any sort of application that deals with large amounts of data, or simply when printing out math programs. You could easily ask the user how many decimal points they want to see and use a format statement to construct that. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial. I do apologize for the 23-minute time length. However, I think that it was well worth it because format strings are a very important topic in Java. Thanks a ton for watching. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one. Peace.